Good evening, friends. Today is Tuesday, May 12th, and I wanted to start by just thanking all of you for being here, thanking all of you for your continued prayers for our parish and for our church and for all of the people in our parish who are most in need. It's nice that we can be together at least this way, and we need to look and hope and work toward the day when we can be together in better ways as well. I wanted to spend a few minutes with you this evening on the first reading for today's Mass, and that's from the Acts of the Apostles, the 14th chapter, verses 19 to 28. Let's start by just reading that. In those days, some of the Jews from Antioch and Iconium arrived and won over the crowds. They stoned Paul and dragged him out of the city, supposing that he was dead. But when the disciples gathered around him, he got up and entered the city. On the following day, he left with Barnabas for Derbe. After they had proclaimed the good news to that city and made a considerable number of disciples, they returned to Lystra and Iconium and to Antioch. They strengthened the spirits of the disciples and exhorted them to persevere in the faith, saying, "It is necessary for us to undergo many hardships to enter the kingdom of God." They appointed presbyters for them in each church, and with prayer and fasting commended them to the Lord, in whom they had put their faith. They traveled through Pisidia and reached Pamphylia. After proclaiming the word at Perga, they went down to Attalia. From there they set sail to Antioch, where they had been commended to the grace of God for the work they had now accomplished. And when they arrived, they called the church together and reported what God had done with them, and how he had opened the door of faith to the Gentiles. They then spent no little time with the disciples. I meditate on this passage a lot because I find it to be so clear on what our mission is. This church in Antioch sends Paul and Barnabas out into the world in order to preach the good news, in order to make disciples. And then, after having been on this missionary journey, having suffered a lot on the journey, Paul and Barnabas retrace their steps to head back toward Antioch. Along the way, St. Luke uses a wonderful line about what they did as they revisited each of the churches they had established in the various cities along their route. He says, they strengthened the spirits of the disciples and exhorted them to persevere in the faith, saying, "It is necessary for us to undergo many hardships to enter the kingdom of God." If I could say one thing to you tonight, it would be strengthened in your faith. Persevere in it. Be strong in the Spirit, for it is necessary for us to undergo many hardships in order to enter the kingdom of God. And then Paul and Barnabas, after seeing to the structure of the church in the places where they went, by appointing presbyters, priests for them, and praying with them, then they leave and they go on to the next place, and then to the next, and to the next. And finally, they come back to Antioch, where they had started. And here again, a wonderful line. When they arrived, they called the church together and reported what God had done with them, and how he had opened the door of faith to the Gentiles. Then they spent no little time with the disciples. My friends, if I have one hope for this parish, if I have one hope for this parish, it is that we will become like Antioch. That we will send forth from this place missionaries to go out into the world and to proclaim the good news, to propose the relationship with Jesus. And that then those missionaries, having strengthened the faith of the disciples they've made, will return here to St. Margaret Mary Parish, our own Antioch, and there call the church together and tell us all about what has happened along the way in their missionary activity. and how the Lord has worked through them to open the door of faith, and then to spend no little time with the disciples here. That's what our parish needs to be. We need to be a forming ground for missionaries whom we send out into the world and then whom we welcome back to nourish with the sacraments and with encouragement. If we accept any concept of our parish that is any less than that, we're making a big mistake. We're throwing away our heritage. We're throwing away our purpose, our mission. So, be missionaries and be supporters of missionaries. Being a missionary is something that you can do right from where you are in the midst of your isolation. Because we all know that the most effective way to make disciples is one-on-one. We can't have big crowds gathering right now. Please God, that day will come very soon. I hope, I pray, but it can't happen now. But we can be on the phone with one another, sending notes and emails and reaching out to one another one-on-one in order to support one another in the faith and in order to propose the faith to people that are not people of faith. So be missionaries, dear ones. Be missionaries. And then when we come back from our exile and are all together again, I hope that we have 1,000 good stories to tell one another about the way in which God worked through us to open the door of faith to others. Thank you, and God bless you.